Kaden Ellis, you're getting a video today because when it's late June and we're kind of entering that peak NFL dryness, and I come across an ESPN article with the 11 best specialized players and I see a Falcon on there, yeah, we're going to talk about that. So let's discuss the Falcons blitzing linebacker, because that's what he was awarded as, according to ESPN's Bill Barnwell, the best blitzing off-ball linebacker. And I don't think this comes as a huge shock or surprise to anyone, at least not to anyone in the NFC South, right? You can look at his stats from his time in New Orleans and now, 2 years in Atlanta, and Ellis has been a hidden gem, I feel like, on defense across the league. I like to put Ellis in this category of opposing teams and fans don't really know who he is until they play him, until they play the Falcons, and then at halftime, they have to Google the Falcons roster and feel like, who the hell is this guy and why is he beating the shit out of us? Oh, it's Kaden Ellis? I feel like I've heard that name before. And then at the end of the game, everyone goes, yeah, you got to watch out for that guy. Did not know that going into the game. I knew they had, Jesse Bates and AJ Terrell. Didn't realize what a headache Ellis would be. But he definitely fits the mold for this top-notch blitzing off-ball linebacker. And there's a lot of good stats and metrics that can, support that. But let me first start with just a bit of an anecdotal reasoning for why Ellis is an awesome blitzing off-ball linebacker. So Barnwell from ESPN does a great job of describing Ellis's role. And in a lot of packages, in a lot of instances, he's what's called a green dog, okay, or valuable player on green dog rushes. And what that means is, let's say Ellis is assigned in coverage to cover the running back, but the running back stays in for pass protection. So Ellis is now kind of standing there and has, a split second to make a decision. What should I do? I'm supposed to cover the running back. The running back is not going out for a route. So I'm not just going to stand here and have cinder block for feet and watch the play go by. I'm going to join the pass rush. Why not? I can either stand here and just kind of watch the play, or I can be a part of it and try and make a play happen. And that's when teams may be better off sending the running back out on a route so that Ellis doesn't have the opportunity to, join the pass rush. Because even though he didn't get a ton of opportunities the last year or two to be a true pass rusher, when his number was called, he made the most of it. And here are some of the really cool facts that Barnwell points out that I want to share with you guys here. So I'll throw it on screen for everyone to see right here. All right. By reducing the threshold for ESPN's pass rush win rate to include players who had at least 100 plays with a win or loss, his 26.4% pass rush win rate was tied with Danielle Hunter for second in the NFL, only trailing Aiden Hutchinson. So timeout, I'm going to interject right here. ESPN likes to come up with their own stats a lot, and they're a little bit tricky because when we see 26.4% pass rush win rate, what a tongue twister that is, we kind of have to take them for their word at it. To my understanding, there is not some guy in a basement in Bristol who just watches every single Kaden Ellis snap and is the judge, the jury, and the executioner when determining whether or not they won that rep, right? Because it's a win or a loss. And I believe ESPN, and I'm open to being wrong about this, but I believe the way ESPN tracks this is they don't have someone tracking every single pass rusher every single snap. No, they got the chips in their shoulder pads, and they got the chips in the defense and offensive lineman shoulder pads, and the chips are able to tell them, hey, this defender got past the offensive lineman. The tricky thing with that is I just don't know how accurate the technology is to know, sure, from a chip standpoint, it indicated the defender got past the offensive lineman. But if you actually watch the film, you'd see that the ball was on the other side of the field. The offensive lineman knew that, so he stopped putting in as much effort to stop the defender because the play was over on the right side of the line. And I'm open to being wrong on this, but that's my understanding of how this data is put together. And so I don't want to be a rain on anyone's parade because Kaden Ellis is definitely a really good pass rusher. But I just want to put that in the back of your mind. Whenever you see like ESPN's own specific stats, it's important for you to ask yourself, how do they get this data? Because they put in a lot of their articles. And it's fun to see and it's really interesting. But it's very difficult to learn where they actually got the number from. Like, how did you get 26.4%? I'd almost wish there was someone in a basement just tracking every single stat. But that's wildly inefficient for someone's time, or for maybe ESPN to pay someone to do that when they can just look at the chips and the shoulder pads and go, sure, this might not be 100% accurate, but who's going to say otherwise? Is there another place that has someone in a basement looking over the all 22 from every single game, every single Sunday for all 11 players on defense? Highly doubt it. So that's just something to, like I said, keep in the back of your head when looking at this type of stuff here. But let's get back to the rest of this, okay? Over the past 2 seasons, setting the limit at 150 plays with a win or loss, Ellis's 23.6% pass rush win rate is the league's 4th best mark. So kind of bringing this all together right now to land this plane, yeah, Kaden Ellis is awesome, and we know that. We've known that for quite some time right now. What I'm really excited to see is, what does his role look like now that James Pierce, Leonard Floyd, and Jalen Walker are a part of this defense? Because I think the last 2 years, the Falcons defense has had to place more pressure on, or maybe more on Ellis's plate to try and make up for lack of success from the traditional pass rushers. They got to go to their inside linebacker to do the job that the outside linebackers and the defensive ends can't get done. Well, if Pierce and Walker and Floyd are able to get to the quarterback, on their own, all of a sudden Raheem Morris goes, hey, we can kind of pull back on the Ellis throttle a little bit. And we can still use him as a blitzing off-ball linebacker. But maybe now we don't have to put so much on his plate to make up for the other players not getting to the quarterback. And does that lead to, as the season progresses, a bit of a change in role for him, right? Do they get to week 6, 7, or 8 and they go, hey, we're, 16th in sacks right now. Last year we were 32nd at this point. So sure, we're not top 10, but we're way ahead of where we were a year ago. We maybe don't need to send Ellis on so many blitzes. And we can keep him home a little bit more to kind of help with stopping the run, or maybe helping more in coverage a little bit, dropping an extra guy into coverage, which that may not be Ellis's forte. But I think about the Super Bowl and how the Eagles didn't blitz once, and they terrorized the Chiefs with 4 guys on the line of scrimmage getting to the quarterback. Now, the Falcons are not at where the Eagles' pass rush is, but that's a decent, in a copycat league, blueprint for, if you obviously kind of Captain Obvious here in the football world, if you can get to the quarterback with 4 and you can drop 7 in coverage, that's a nightmare for quarterback. Because now they're still getting as much pressure as they would from 5 or 6 guys, but with just 4, and there's 7 in coverage, so the windows are a lot smaller to throw to their receivers. In a perfect world, that's probably what you're searching for, but that involves a bit of a change for Ellis, and may not be his specialty, his strength, but we're talking way down the line here. Overall, I'm excited for Ellis, to continue to grow with the Falcons, and I think he's going to be, a really good player next year or this upcoming season. And with the additional help, coming off the edge, you just got to envision that the guard now is thinking, all right, I got to focus more on Walker and Pierce, and I don't know if I can lend a helping hand to my center with Ellis blitzing down the middle, because it's choosing between James Pierce or Kaden Ellis. And as an inside, interior offensive lineman, that's a tough decision to make right there, and that's not a position I want to be in. That's going to do it for us on today's episode. Really appreciate everyone for tuning in. If you haven't yet, scroll on down, click that like button. If you're still watching, drop an ATL in the comment section.